Start the meeting. Minutes from Tuesday, March 9th. There's 4 of us here. Any additions, corrections?
Motion to accept.
All right.
Second.
The only thing that I might add, and because it was at the last meeting, that I got a call from Steve Schatz
I was gonna put that in this meeting.
letting us know that at no time was he on the Conservation Commission and on the Select Board.
Oh,
I was gonna put that in this meeting.
Oh, all right.
It's not in the minutes from last meeting because I didn't think it was that relevant that I needed to report it, but whatever.
Well, now we can report it because I mentioned it.
It will be in the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you. And we had a 10-minute conversation about that.
So, yeah, I got told to.
and is his sense that it's not a copacetic?
I would imagine that that's what he thinks.
But if it happened on a phone call, it wasn't the meeting, so we can leave
No,
the
I was asking for personal insight, not as part of the meeting. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Like I said, George Shippey served on both for a long time, and that I'm sure of. So
And
Steve seemed quite adamant that he did not want it in public record that he had served on both boards. So,
Okay.
and he did have a definite opinion about it, but that's something else.
Okay.
Okay, can make a motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's start this meeting. Informal, we have anybody here that wants to talk to us? Up front and personal?
There's a hand raised on the phone icon.
but she's muted, so we're not going to hear anything she says until she unmutes.
We know it's a she?
Yes, at least the picture looks like a she.
I got no picture.
A lady with blonde hair and glasses. Whose hand is raised, it says.
I'm looking at.
Phone number
different pictures.
1413 ***42232.
Yeah,
Someone
I have
who-
the phone number.
Whoever that is needs to unmute.
It says
Okay, I
Anita
don't know if
Schwerner now. But I no longer see a raised hand. So Anita,
I
did
think
you
I'm
want
on-
to, did you want to say something, Anita?
No, Sally, thank you. I didn't
Okay.
have my hand up.
Okay, it said hand raised on the screen, so.
Oh, that was an
I
accident.
wanted to give
but
you an opportunity to say something if you wanted to say something.
I appreciate that.
All right. Public hearing.
And Mark, is that Mark Volk?
Mark,
Mark.
Mark, you're muted if you want to answer. I can tell that is Mark.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay,
okay.
just checking.
I'm
We
here.
had me one at the last meeting and I still don't know who that was.
That's me.
Really?
You were me one?
Sure. Why not? No,
Okay,
I'm 6'2", 6'3".
I don't know who me one was. It was still a mystery.
And this is why we want to keep doing this. Sally, we got to do something with this Bernard Hahn thing.
You know, Ron, he was my client and then the contractor did the clearing. So she was going to clear that up. I'll contact Bern Hahn and do some planting for replication and see if we can close that out. How's that?
That would be
Please.
great.
All right. I know it's been on there for like a year.
Longer than that, I think.
All right. Well, I'll contact him and see if we can clean that up.
we also wanted them to expand, you know, we wanted them to decrease the lawn in some places, so.
I think that was the idea with the, because they had done a little bit more clearing in the buffer. So
Right,
I sort of divorced myself from it, but I'll get involved just to clean it up. And
okay,
we'll see if we can plant that area with some native species.
that would be awesome.
All
Okay,
right, thank you. At least give us some sort of drawing or something. Some
Yeah.
sort
Yeah,
of
we've
plan.
been out to look at it a few times and it didn't look like anything had changed since we got the certificate, the request.
I don't think anything has changed. I've been by and I noticed it too. Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
so I've heard from Rob Ackroyd, and apparently the folks at TriWalk are
yes,
going to come back to us. So this is an open thing, but not yet finalized.
all right, so this will be a whole new submittal?
I'm not sure.
10?
I'm not sure. Well, that one is there, I think theoretically still valid. It hasn't been 3 years. So we'll wait and see what Rob has to say, but he did get in touch with me to say that he was going to come back to us on that project.
All right. Ice Glen Road. What do you say that? Yes. Ithrid? Ethrid?
Three,
Yeah,
Ithrid? I'm sorry.
not a problem.
Who's got this? Jackson?
Jackson.
Yep.
You're up, Jackson.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just share the site plan on my screen here, if that's okay. So I believe we ended last meeting talking about this project.
Yes.
The Concom, you seemed okay with the mitigation proposed, but we wanted some kind of deed restriction or specific conditions that require the work to be done beyond just an order of conditions. So Foresight went through the liberty to prepare this suggested list of conditions. And obviously there's two ways I guess we could deal with this. There's the way of an enforcement order, which would apply some conditions, something I would think similar to this, which would require them to carry out this mitigation work under surveillance of a environmental consultant. Or we could do that under the blanket of a notice of intent. I guess that's totally up to you what you see fit. But we wanted to provide this list of suggested conditions, mostly to require the applicant, if you choose to enact this list of conditions, to retain environmental consultant that'll observe the work in the mitigation and replication work. And they'll report back to the Conservation Commission at multiple points throughout the project and the following years and growing seasons to ensure the success of the proposed plantings. So we wanted to provide this list to you for your consideration. And we also looked over Mark Stinson's comments on the project. And he recommended a new delineation be done rather than going off of the one from 2000 in the original permit plan. So we went through the process of redelineating all the wetlands on site, and we're surveying those as we speak and drafting them into a plan. So we could provide that new information to the Concom whenever we get that ready. But yeah,
But since the order of conditions the last time didn't really seem to be of any particular concern to them, I think a stronger enforcement is probably preferable, at least in my opinion.
that was Mark Stinson's first comment. was that, under an order of conditions, an applicant has the option to perform this work as permitted or not at all. But under enforcement, it's a required action. So it's up to the commission. I think with what we're proposing, we would propose kind of the same thing under an enforcement order. So it all ends up in the same, destination, with the wetlands being replicated and the mitigation plantings being planted. But it's just depends which permitting route, I guess, the commission wants to go down with that.
I vote for the enforcement.
Jackson, would this start this spring?
They are eager to get started as soon as possible. They want to get this mitigation work squared away and get the wetlands back to, an acceptable condition to you all. So I think they would likely try to do this spring if we could make some kind of action on it soon.
So our first, well, let's call it an inspection, would be within 6 months.
Yep. So the first of our suggested conditions ensures that the proposed work has to be done within 1 year of the date of issuance of the order of conditions. And then the environmental consultant that the applicant would be required to retain would review and report erosion controls when they're installed. They would review and report on drainage outlet installation and the installation of all those drainage features. And then they would report on the plantings at multiple intervals. So during installation, 6 months later, after the first growing season, and then after the second growing season. And they would also review the project after that 2 years to finalize that everything is stable and it was done according to the order of conditions as it was permitted. And then submit that to the commission for removal of erosion controls. So we think this suggested list of conditions is pretty thorough and would, require the applicant to retain this environmental consultant, and they would observe and report on the entire process.
My only thought on this, Jackson, is I'd like to have these reports in our hands before the end of the growing season each year.
Mhm.
So if we do a site visit, we don't go out and look at branches with no leaves and
Mhm.
brown grass and that type of thing.
Understood. Yep.
So
Ron,
probably,
Ron, one suggestion might be that under the town wetlands bylaw, we can fine this applicant $100 a day going forward, and it would be great, I think, to consider doing that and then possibly remove the fine once we see actual progress rather than another round of promises.
Well, Patrick, if that's, what you think would be best, it seems like maybe enforcement would be the way to go, because that, it puts a legal requirement on the owner to perform that work rather than just an order of conditions by which they need to do the work if they so choose to do it. So maybe that might be the way to go on this.
if we do enforcement, I'm just trying to put this in a time frame. Would the start of this project be this spring?
I think that's what the applicants would prefer. They would like it to be this spring. So if that's something you could include in an enforcement order, I think a condition that the work must be started and completed within this calendar year or before a specific date.
How about it must be started before the end of spring?
Okay. In my experience, with the order conditions, they like to include or it's typical to include a specific date do you think?
What's the first day of summer?
June 21st.
There you go.
Okay. So that's, yeah, I think that's what the applicant would prefer anyway, to get things started and get the proper drainage structures in place as they were proposed in 2000, and then plant all the mitigation plantings to get that those growing over the summer, and so they survive well through the fall and winter.
All right,
Jackson,
so
will you draft the enforcement document?
Yeah, I think we could draft like a list of conditions, including that specific June 21st date. And we could submit that to you along with our updated wetland delineation from.
Okay,
that should give you plenty of time, Jackson, to get this started and everything lined up, and if it isn't moving by the 21st of June, then we'll start with $100 a day.
Understood.
Incentive.
Gotcha. Okay, I think we'll be back at the next meeting with that draft of conditions for the enforcement order, and hopefully some updated information on wetland delineation.
so you're requesting a continuance?
Yeah, I think we would
Okay.
request continuance at this time.
Okay,
All right,
And you'll have everybody lined up. Okay,
thank you.
that's it for you today, Jackson?
Oh, no.
Jackson's got lots.
50 Lake Drive, who's doing that one?
So I'll do so we'd like to get, there was a 2011 certificate, order of conditions that was issued for a project that was proposed at that time. None of that ever got done. So we'd ask for, number one, a certificate of compliance. And I think the certificate of compliance has a section in there for work was never done.
yes, it does.
It's expired, just issue the certificate of compliance because nothing was done on it. So
Okay,
number one, we'd like to do that to close that out.
All right,
I make a
make-
motion that we issue the certificate of compliance stating that no work was done.
I'll second that. Any opposition? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, notice of intent.
Sure. So notice of intent, we went through this long time last meeting. We've come back, we've talked to the clients, we've reviewed it with the clients, and we've issued you a new plan with additional plantings. Jackson's got them up on the screen. The plantings along the shoreline vary in width, but generally, they're at minimum about 8 feet wide, but broaden out from there. It's about 1,600 square feet. We have some shown on the south side of the property and near the wall. And then there's 18 tree plantings to be done to replace existing trees to be removed. So this is what we've talked to our clients. They have grandchildren that house is all about, and they'd like to have a lawn that they can do sports in, touch football, etc. So this is what we came up with. So we're presenting it to you. And we'd like to hear your comments. Hopefully this is enough for you. These are low shrub plantings with a wetland pseudo wetland mix. It's not a wetland mix per se obligate. It's a mixture of plants, grasses, and herbaceous stuff, and then small shrub plantings. So that's what we're proposing after the last meeting.
When you say,
Yep.
grasses, the area around the lake there is gonna be like wetlands grasses and that sort of thing?
Like a tall grass, right? Yeah, so the wetland, the mix, which is usually it's an erosion control mix. So just to be clear, this is like 2 feet above the lake.
Yeah.
So it's not really a wetland seed mix, because a wetland seed mix isn't going to grow in it because it doesn't have the hydrology. So it's really a mixture of an upland and a wetland seed mix. It's just so we're proposing it be basically a tall grass, an unmowed grass area. Maybe they maintain it every other year to keep it to a reasonable height, but it's still going to have a wildlife habitat value. So with the height of the grass.
Mark, do they
yeah.
realize this has to be dense enough to keep the
Yeah.
geese out? Because they're not gonna put another fence up.
Right. No, and the fence, just to be clear, the fence is gone.
Thank you.
I did it myself.
And if I could speak also, I was asked to meet with the neighbors about, this is Attorney Elizabeth Goodman representing the Landau family. I was asked to meet with the neighbors about the easement and about what would be happening with the project and that access easement. It's shown on the plan as the 20-foot wide easement. So you can see the dotted line we laid out on the plan, the path that is actually traveled to get to the lake by the easement holders. And there's a fence that also is along that path. And the easement holders, I met with Lori Beasley and Lori Griffa, and someone else was with us. I'm sure they can speak up too, but they asked a few things of my clients. One was that there be no additional plantings in the easement area, but we talked about, you see down by the lake where it says existing flower bed surrounding existing well. So we looked at that little circular item and we felt that the plantings that were proposed on this are fine. There is a tiny gate that leads to a dock that's already in place. We were not going to remove the gate, right, Mark? I don't think we're going to remove that easement gate, which prevents access, I guess, to people on their dock.
Yeah.
We were going to leave that gate, and we promised not to block that gate by planting additional plantings. And I think that the plan shows that we wouldn't, and if there's just existing plantings there, we wouldn't add in a way that would interfere with the access. And also, the dotted line shows the fence, and it traverses the easement in a diagonal pattern. The easement holders asked that our client remove the fence. Our client did not install the fence. I just want you to know that was there when they bought years and years and years ago, but they're happy to undertake to just remove the fence. They're not gonna, everybody agreed at our meeting on Saturday, and Pam was there too. Everybody agreed not to touch whatever is growing in the easement area will not be disturbed. The whole progress of the construction will be cordoned off. I think with the silt fences that are shown in the darker diagonal, right, Mark?
Right.
And then, but this fence that lies within the easement area, they've asked my clients to remove. And then we'll leave that easement area alone. We won't interfere with the lake access. And that is everything I wanted to report. And then the other thing I wanted to mention to your board is I did discuss with my clients your proposed, I wasn't at your last Conservation Commission meeting. And I understand from Mark that you asked for additional plantings other than what's existing on the site. And again, as Mark pointed out, the desire has to be balanced with the request of our clients to be able to use the lawn area for playing with their children. So this is their home where they want to come and use the lawn to play touch football, croquet, badminton, outdoor activities. And so we're hoping that you will agree that the lawn area that's proposed on Mark's plan is not very big, and that you will accept the plantings as a nice, happy balance.
Mhm.
But we're open to your suggestions and discussion on that.
On
I'm
the,
looking at the plan, and it says this one little area is 5 feet wide and another area is 4 feet wide, which is a far cry from the 35 feet wide, which is required under the LPOD.
Well, just to be clear on that, it is not required, Sally. It's the language that's in there. And that language is under cutting. It is not under planting or additional vegetation. It's under the cutting
But
section
it's
of the
the
LPOD.
spirit of the LPOD is to create an uncut area near the lake so that serves as wildlife habitat and protection of the lake.
So
It
we're,
isn't-
so we're trying to balance that, Sally.
Yeah.
You know, we
But-
have a client that's had
5
this. for-
feet is not 35 feet.
It's not 5 feet, Sally. It's 6
And-
feet. And then there's about 2 or 3 feet of natural vegetation there. So it's actually about 8 to 9 feet wide at the thinnest spots here. And then we've also reduced the access to the dock area. We had 30 feet in there. Now we're down to 12 feet of an access point to the dock. So
Okay, I have
think
in
think
front of me, Mark, I have in front of me a plan that's dated 3/1.
all right.
Supposed to be the updated plan, and it does not show what I'm looking at on the screen.
We sent you just the other day a plan that's 3/18.
Okay, I didn't get that yet.
All right.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's what Jackson has it up on the screen.
Okay,
And,
all right.
and Mark, how did you send that? Did you send it by email to the Concom?
Yes, Concom, Sally, and Ron.
So
I'm-
are you able to access that, Sally, through your email now?
It's up on the screen.
Yeah, it's
No,
up on
I
the
know,
screen.
but you may
Okay,
want to look at it.
But
in
we
larger
didn't get
detail.
it beforehand.
so I'm just,
was
what I
just-
have in my hand was what I picked up on Friday. So,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
don't-
got in town hall. Did
I
you
don't have, I
send
don't
it?
have, I don't have everybody's email, so I didn't do a blanket and I apologize.
Okay. Well, if you send it to Conservation Commission at Town of Stockbridge, I think
We
it's
did.
.gov now, it should
It
get to
did.
everybody.
right.
But the one I picked up in Town Hall was dated, so that was what I was looking at, was dated,
Well,
3/1. So there's been another one since then.
Yes,
Three,
looking at it.
3/18,
yes, and that
21.
definitely does show more of the balancing in response to your request. We are
Okay.
trying to, you can see the corner up at is that the north side of this?
The
Yeah.
northeast
Right,
corner.
that's
Okay.
all.
That's a
planted
huge
down.
area we filled.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
better.
that makes
Mark-
more sense. That makes more sense.
Mark, I have a question.
Sure, Ron.
Is this planting gonna be dense enough to keep the geese from walking through it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, eventually you want to do that. Yes. I mean, there's no, I would encourage the client to plant this as densely as possible. It's not going to happen the first year because, when you're planting things, Ron, it takes a while to establish. But, if you want to keep the geese out, you got to have a density there. So, it's like, it's putting the grass seed mix down and then doing the shrub plantings. You have to do a little bit of balance because you can't plant the shrubs in the grass so the grass smothers the shrubs because it's just a hardship there. So there's a little bit of maintenance going to have to go on there.
Yeah, and the client will be motivated to do that if they want to use the lawn, right?
Yeah. If they want to keep the geese out, that's what they're going to need to do because the geese will just walk through it if it's not dense enough.
Well, that's where I was going with this. If they don't do a complete thorough planting, I don't want to see the fence go back up.
No,
No
no, we
fences.
understand that. Yeah, they're gonna need to identify sufficient planting and refresh the planting to use that to manage the geese and not use a fence.
All
No
right,
fence will go in.
thank you.
I have a question, a couple of questions. One, I'm frankly just a little bit concerned about planting grass because it's really easy, even if it were unintentional, for a vendor to not know where the lawn ends and the grass begins in terms of like running the lawnmower over it. And I want to sort of make sure that if this is the plan, and if we approve something which is significantly less than the 35 feet that Sally wants, but nevertheless is an improvement over a lot of the properties around the bowl, and I recognize that and applaud you for that. But I want to understand what the certificate of compliance or whatever timeframe is, because I frankly want to make sure that if we're going to be made these promises, that people start to keep them. The last one we had.
Yeah.
You know,
That is a very
And-
valid question, Patrick. And my understanding, and Mark, you can fill in, is that 2 growing seasons after planting, you get to continue to review. And is that right, Mark? That's our usual.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Just one further point, maybe you could, Mark, this is Joe, maybe you could put a
Joe.
minimum height on that grass so that in case it wouldn't accidentally get mowed.
Well, I think the solution to the mowing is we do a small shrub line at the edge of the planting area, and you're not going to want to mow those because you've just paid for those. So
And
yeah, all right.
But you could have a minimum height in that area of grass.
we could do, say, of 6 inches. You know,
2
that's
feet or so.
2 feet's a lot for a grass. I don't think, you know,
Six
as
6 inches isn't much for a goose, though.
I don't think
Six-
it's, yeah, enough, is it?
Are we
So-
talking about the proposed native planting area that shows on
Yes,
this plan
yes.
as shrubs? Those are, my understanding is they're going to be planting, in addition to grass, they're going to be planting those things listed.
with shrubs, yes. Ron, what was your comment on 6 inches?
That won't slow a goose down.
No, that's why the shrubs are right at the
Right.
lake edge there in the
I mean, we-
whole
But
We
you're
can
gonna
dotted
need-
areas.
You're
I
gonna
think
need-
we could do it as 1 foot grass height. Now, so it's gonna depend on the species of grass that's in this mix. So there's gonna be a different, we'll have to work that out, but it is gonna be a shrub layer. And we'll do it as a, as much as we kind of native mix. That's usually we get it from, or I recommend that it gets done from New England wetland plants, which is all usually native plantings. So that can come up
And there
usually.
can be a review at the time of planting, right?
Yep,
And then each growing season thereafter, we can report, Mark can report.
and
With
subsequent to
pictures.
that, similar to what you just did with YA3, you could have, you could put it into a condition that, the planting conditions be reported to the Conservation Commission on a yearly basis, twice a year, or something along that line.
Yeah.
All right, one more question on this.
I'd like to be heard. I'm an objector. My name is Lori Griffin. I'm at 62 Lake Drive.
All right, hang on just a minute, Lori. Well, I got a thought here. You're next. A freestanding gate in front of the dock of some sort. If you don't have right up to the walkway to the dock, you're gonna have critters making that corner and being there looking at you.
These are,
Okay.
there's existing, so Ron, there's existing gates. There's existing gates at the docks. They're little tiny things. They're no impediment to wildlife
Well, that's,
movement.
I'm
No,
not-
They are for a geese, but any other critter is just gonna walk around them. So
what
there
would
is
be-
gates.
I just,
What would be the dimensions of a new gate in that area?
Oh, it's only, I think a gate would only be like 6 feet wide. It's not a big gate.
Okay, 6 foot.
I had a question.
Well, Lori, oh, okay,
It's Jamie.
Jamie?
So back to the lawn, I know that it's important and it's for the grandchildren but a problem around the lake is people want beautiful lawns and they add fertilizers which go into the Stockbridge Bowl because they run off into the watershed. So that
Yes.
is a concern. And also we are given the task as a Conservation Commission to ask questions. And I've heard several people sighing and saying things under their breath. And it is our job to ask these questions, even if they seem silly or stupid. And it's really disrespectful. And to give us a hard time for asking questions is really disrespectful. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could respond to those 2 points.
Let's, Laura, you're a neighbor?
Yes, I am. I'm a resident of 62 Lake Drive, and I have an express deeded easement
Yes.
to cross this property, and I just want
Sorry, we do have to say, though, that some of this is not within our purview.
I understand that.
Okay.
I want to address planting, which I think is squarely within the purview.
Right. Yep.
So just a couple of observations that I'd like to make. So first, it is true that the fence that has spanned the property line at 50 Lake Drive has been removed. The fence posts remain. The existing gate that blocks off the existing dock, I would say, is somewhere between 3 and 4 feet from left to right. It's made of it's slatted and it's made of wood. It's been there for perhaps a year. There's always been some kind of gate there for the last 13 years. This is a new version of the old gate. And so in part, I suspect that has been installed for dock safety. The dock is a floating dock. So it's a little bit unstable. I didn't install it. It's been there. I suspect it'll stay. I certainly don't have any objection to that. What does concern me on this photograph, which is not accurate. So in the area of the easement, it's very hard to read on screen. It says existing dogwood and spirea shrubs along the shoreline. And I'm going to use my cursor. I wonder if you can see right here is where I'm referring. You can
Yes.
see the arrow. There are no plantings there. That's where the gate is. And it was suggested to me at the site visit on Saturday where Ms. Goodman and I'm sorry, Pam, I forgot Pam's last name, but Sandler, when we were all present together, that the plantings that are shown on this rendering were specifically requested to be placed at this location by the ComCon. And I do not believe that to be accurate. And I'd like to know if that request was made of the landscape architect or the site developer that they be planted there. There are no plants there. There's a gate there. And if there are going to be dogwood or any dogwood shrubs or spirea shrubs that are added there for geese inhibition, whether this is a request of the ComCon or not, that will block my easement and force me to walk through those shrubs in order to gain access to the dock and the lake. I can't imagine this whole idea of using plantings as a substitute goose fence. That is for the residents. That is not for the conservation of the lake or the wildlife. So my first question for the board is, was it a specific request that plants be added at this break in the fence line or the former fence line? If someone can tell me whether that request was made, I would appreciate knowing it.
We did not specify any plants specifically.
What about the location of said plants?
It was for the replacement of the fence.
Okay.
If the fence went all the way down through there and there's a gate there now, the gate would still be there.
Okay, well, there's no planting in front of the gate. And I would specifically request that there be no plantings added. So this is not an accurate rendering because there are no existing shrubs there. And I am, I'm prepared to withdraw my objection, but.
Where is the dock?
The dock is not depicted here, but I would say where that word existing shrubs existing spirea, dogwood spirea shrubs along shoreline. I would say that that is basically the position of the dock.
Sally, the dock is right on the property corner. It's just a straight dock that goes out. And Lori, we have no intentions. This is just a generality of that there is existing dogwood and spirea along the shoreline. We have no intentions to plant that. That's remain open to your access to the lake and to the dock. So
Well, I really appreciate your representation, but whomever prepared this rendering suggests that there either are shrubs there, which means the work is inaccurate, or the shrubs are to be added to enhance the goose prevention.
all right, well,
And
we'll
I want to make sure that that's not going to happen.
we'll put that.
Yes, that was my whole point of speaking out, Lori, in the beginning of this. I
Okay.
certified that that was the result of our site visit, and then that was what we were requesting, that we would not do planting within the easement, except as you can see, the circular well and the bushes shown near it. And in any event, we would not block your gate.
Okay, I appreciate that. The wellhead has been surrounded by ornamental grasses that actually grow quite high. This rendering indicates more plants will surround it. I don't have any position on that. And with regard to this fence that I understand was not installed by the applicant, I would say that I'm happy that to hear it's going to be removed. While it was not installed by them, and the age of the fence does seem to indicate that that's so, I would say it has been maintained in that position. There is new wires, new fence posts added, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm wondering, is that fence going to be removed before the demolition and construction starts?
Yeah. I mean, our client has committed to removing the fence, and I don't believe that the Conservation Commission is, concerned, really. It's not within the buffer zone almost. It's just, it's an issue between the easement holders and our clients. But I have told you, I've spoken with him, and he's agreed to pay the cost of removal of the fence and the poles.
Mark does it for free.
No, not that
Not
one.
quite. Not that fence.
Okay, then I just wanted to speak to that, and I have nothing additional to add. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. I appreciate it.
Thank you for clarifying a few things. All right. Any other questions?
Well, Elizabeth had wanted
I
to
have another
respond.
one.
Oh, I just wanted to say that, Jamie, you had said that people were sighing, but it wasn't my client or any of us who are, I don't believe it was any of us who are sighing. I believe that your board's inquiry is appropriate, and I appreciate the volunteer work that all of you are doing. But secondly, you were concerned about using fertilizer on the lawn. And I want to assure the board that whatever conditions you put as to lawn maintenance are appropriate within your jurisdiction. And if you want to say no use of fertilizers on this lawn,
We will
that's
always, just
appropriate.
as a point of order, we always say that there are no fertilizers within 200 feet of the lake.
Yeah, that was my understanding. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a reason to be concerned about this lawn. That was all my point.
Yep.
I have a short question, and that is, there was mention of ornamental grasses down near the wellhead. Yes, no?
Yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
I stated that there are ornamental grasses that have been around that wellhead. I don't know, I don't say that to cast aspersions. The wellhead is shown there. They've been cut down, presumably
To grow next year.
to grow next year, or to allow inspection of the wellhead with related to the construction. I don't know the reasons. I just make that observation. And they just grow quite, and look, they're very attractive. It looks good when they grow in, but I'm not saying whether it's appropriate or not appropriate. That's not my purpose for raising it. It's just, it is a point of reference that is demonstrated on this rendering. That round circle, if you can see my arrow, that's where the wellhead is.
Yeah, my question is this, and that is, ornamental grasses all in their own nature as they grow, would be a great buffer to keep the geese off anybody's lawn. But I'm not clear on the regulations of the use of ornamental grasses on the shoreline of Stockbridge Bowl.
Supposed to be native plantings
Yeah, I think that's what we're proposing.
under the
John?
wetlands, both under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the LPOD.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I assumed. But is that, I guess that's carved in stone, eh?
Yes,
John, there are some ornamental or some native grasses that will grow to a height, but not to the 6 or 8 feet that the ornamental grasses grow. I think if you get the taller ones, and I can't come up with a name at the moment, but they would make it to 3 or 4 feet, some of these, and that I should think would be sufficient.
That
And it would give everybody their view of the water and inhibit the progress of the geese.
I just,
thank you.
point of order, or point to be mentioned, that's all.
All right, thank you. I have, my last question here is, along the side, the south side of the property where the right of way was, on the last renditions we saw 2 weeks ago, there were a number of tree plantings over there. There are fewer now from my perspective. Did they get moved, the trees, or just eliminated?
No, they got moved, Ron, because we're not trying to encumber the easement. So with the space that's available and not trying to impact the existing trees there, they've all been moved to the north side of the lot and up into the northeast corner, which is northeast corner of the parcel, which is up near the lake. So they've been moved. So we have 18 tree plantings, 18 trees being removed, 18 trees being planted.
Ron, we were specifically asked by the people who have rights to the easement to remove, we had planned on 3 trees in the easement right on the edge, and they asked for them to be moved. And you can see from the drawing that they are on the client's right next to the easement right now, but not.
Yeah, outside of the 20-foot easement, right.
So that's where you saw them before, and that's why they're not there.
Okay. Has Tri-Town weighed in on your septic system plan yet?
Yeah, we've been going back and forth. So I don't have a complete approval of that yet. We have the same system that we're proposing right now was approved in 2011 when that application was done. So we do have actually a permit from 2011 for the same septic system. So we'll be cleaning that up, hopefully wrapping that up in the next couple days
And
with Tri-Town.
it certainly could be a condition of your order of conditions.
well, we won't issue the orders without it. I
Right,
mean,
but
we can go ahead and close, but we won't
Yes.
issue without it.
That makes sense, yes.
That's fine.
Any others? Questions, answers?
And Ron,
concerns?
you're okay with the fill?
I have questions about it, but
As do I.
Or what are they?
Well, it seems as though the whole property is originally filled. And now we're filling it some more. I understand that it's going to be required in order to do what they need to do with their septic system, and that the septic system is an improvement. But nevertheless, it's
Well, I was sitting here.
worrisome. Let me
Yeah, I
say
don't think-
worrisome.
Sally, I don't think that the original land is not filled. That's original grade as far as I can tell, because the land rises to the north. So I don't think any of it is, I think that's original grades that are existing. And then what's driving all of the fill, unfortunately, is the septic system replacement. And we're just, we have to meet Title V State Sanitary Code. That's 3
Right,
feet of fill.
I understand that. We
Okay.
understand that.
All right, so
And
we're not
the
doing,
fill is outside of the 100-foot buffer. I know it's not
No, the
outside
fill,
for 2 months.
no, the fill is, the fill on the back side of the house. So, the septic system height drives the finished floor of the house, because you don't want to walk across the septic system and then have to step down. We are actually stepping down into the house because we're trying to manage the amount of fill that we're doing here. And then on the back side of the house, because the land's dropping off, there's about 4 feet of drop from the door sill of the finished floor to existing grades. So we're filling that. And we're also using that area for the infiltration galleys for our impervious areas, for infiltration. So it does have a function. We're trying to do everything with, minimizing as much fill as possible because it's expensive. So,
Mark, if,
Yep.
if the septic system changes for whatever reason, does the grade all the way around change as well?
it's not, no. So Ron, the grade isn't going to change substantially with any change in septic system. And I don't think the grade is sort of set by, you're supposed to be 4 feet above high groundwater. So the groundwater's set at like 18 inches below grade. So we come up 4 feet, and that is set. That's an elevation that we can't break with Title V. That's how it's,
You
that's
come
how
up,
it is.
you come up 4 feet from the water table?
From it's called estimated seasonal high groundwater. So it's not necessarily you dig a hole and groundwater sitting there. It's by modeling.
Yeah.
So
I know.
you understand that.
Yes.
Okay, so we have to be 4 feet above that to the bottom of the septic system. Then you've got 2 feet of septic system, basically.
So there's a 6 feet rise on the western side of the house, which will be continued pretty much all the way around inside the perimeter of the heavily dotted line.
Yeah, the front of the house that's really only about 4 or 5 feet. But the backside, because it drops off and we're trying to maintain we're stepping down from the house down to a lawn area, that the backside is about 4 feet of fill for that terrace area out behind the house. But that also allows us, as I said, to put the infiltrators in there and be above high groundwater. So the infiltration system functions above high groundwater. That's stormwater management design criteria. So it works. We're not trying to fill any more than possible because it's not desirable.
Okay.
And Mark, I had a question, and you may have gone over it already, and I apologize, but driveway and parking of cars, it's a 4-bedroom house, so there's probably more than one car.
They're out front, and the parent Landows have the house to the south, so they can park there. And we've committed to the people on the easement not to park in front of the easement for their access.
Okay.
There was plenty of room, Jamie. I don't know if you've seen the site recently, but I was there on Saturday and I could park my car in, feel like I was off of Lake Drive, and there seemed to be room for several cars to park perpendicular to Lake Drive. I didn't feel like it was crowded. And Pam, do you agree? Yeah, it seems like, and I felt even comfortable that during construction, we could certify that we would not block the access for the easement and still have room for people to park and get the construction done.
We're using a contractor, Chris May, who's done tons of work on the bowl and knows the rules and will make sure, park accordingly.
Parking is kept. Yeah, we could put cones or mark it off, but.
Did I see some planning board people on here earlier?
Yes, Christine and Marie were on.
Are they still with us?
Mm,
Or
Yes.
can't tell? I can't tell.
Yes.
Okay, Christine is there.
Christine, what'd you think about the parking? Because that's out of our purview, really.
We didn't really have a problem with that. We're more concerned about the fill and those kinds of issues. I don't think the parking really was something we were concerned about.
All right, thank you.
I felt we were okay there.
Yeah, the planning board approved it, didn't they?
That's correct. 5-2 vote.
Yes,
Alright.
5-2, it was not unanimous.
What were the
Christine-
objections, just out of curiosity?
Oh dear.
I can tell you exactly what they were.
No, no,
Christine and Kate.
Pam, why
Yes.
don't you let them talk?
Okay.
I just want to let people know I have a 10 a.m. Zoom tomorrow.
You what?
I mean, in other words, how long is this going to go on?
Yeah.
Well, I would like a quick, bullet point of what they didn't like.
Yeah, sure.
I think that, I'm trying to remember. I know my concern was with the fill, and
Okay.
put a condition on that the material that they're bringing in for fill has to match the fill that is there. So the drainage calculations will continue to work, because we don't want any garbage fill brought in, or fill that is really different. So I think that was one of the conditions that we had. And I think the fact that the septic system and we weren't for sure that hadn't been permitted, and it hasn't been permitted for you. The fact that they're walking over the septic system seemed to be something that was not necessarily in our preview, but it was of concern as to how that is going to work. And we were definitely concerned about the fence, and are glad that that is removed. And I'm not for sure about this planting, because I think it's very different than the planting plan that we saw. And we were not as aware of the easement as I am tonight listening to this discussion.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Christine. I think we're good.
About the lawn area. There was concern about the lawn area next to by the lake, on the lake side of the thing.
Okay.
I got out of there as fast as I could.
Thanks, Marie.
Thank you, guys.
If I was correct in my original understanding, that the fill behind the wall, the stone wall, was going to come from underneath the new construction?
Yeah, but
Was I correct on that? Or is-
If there's enough, Ron, that is what we would use. The soil analysis that Christine was saying was that it's a sandy loam soil. That's what was determined when we did the test pits. So if we're excavating for the soil from the foundation and we're putting it into the terrace area, that's the material that we will be putting in there, a sandy loam material. And really the infiltration galley area displaces a lot of fill. So it's not substantial. It's going to be a lot of open plastic hoops below the lawn surface there.
Can you give us a schedule of events? as this progresses?
I think you have a schedule of events recommended in this site. So it is a little different though. so I think we went through this at the last meeting, is that the proposal is that they would install the foundation this spring and cap it, clean up the site, get vegetation growing, and have the site stabilized for the summer with no construction. And then the construction would start in the fall and run through the fall and winter and spring of 21, 22. So
Right,
that's
so the first season of planting is next spring, not this spring.
right.
Is the demolition of the existing building this spring?
Yes, so the existing building would be demoed. That is, I mean, if Sean Landau's on the meeting, he can pipe in if he wants, but that is what
I don't believe
Pam?
that he is.
Pam, is that the schedule?
Yes, that is the schedule, but it really depends on when, how these permits goes.
Right.
So basically, the clients did not want to do any work in the summer months period. So we were planning exactly what Mark said. Put in the foundation, first floor framing, just, the floor, and cap it, we're done. And then pick it up in September again.
Where is, okay, I found it. Week 12.
Yeah, and Ron, that's just a generality, but so it gets a little messed up with the split in the timing of this thing and going through the summer.
Yeah. So basically, July and August, there's no real work done, and then starts again September sometime.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
That was
Right.
what our client committed to, yep.
You would probably start right after Labor Day. Back up.
No one wants to do construction on the ball in July and, well, not my client.
Any other comments? Questions? All right.
Hang on a second.
Yep.
Somewhere around, can somebody give me a clue of what week like 5 is going to be? You're going to have foundation, waterproof, utility, trenching, backfill, and rough grading. Can we get a bang on the can to go down and take a look at things when that after that happens?
Yes, it says notify Concom upon completion of that step.
Okay.
See number 3, phase 3.
Yep, thank you. That's all.
All right, so I want to see what the Tri-Town Sanitarian final plan is before I vote on this, because if that changes too much of the grading and stuff, I want to come back and look at it again. If the original plan stands, okay. Do we have an expectation of when you will get a commitment on that from them?
I'm hoping by the end of the week, Ron.
So if you get it this week.
I called them yesterday and today, and I got no answers. So I'm just like trying to get an answer from them.
Well, can we
So-
approve it based on the 2011 septic, which is the same one that they're applying
No.
for now, and then?
No.
No.
I think we can approve it, but we won't issue until we've received the positive determination from Tri-Town and some sort of certification that it's not vastly different than what they've
Well,
proposed
once we
here.
Because
Can we-
what if slope changes, then it changes the project.
It's
But
not
what if-
gonna be anything substantial. It's gonna be very minor, if anything's grade wise. Is the
I
grade,
think
the-
we're happy to accept the commission's vote to approve, subject to, you know, it coming within compliance of the plan as shown, or the 20, whatever you want to say. And then if that doesn't happen, we'll have to come back and ask to amend.
I think Anita has her hand up.
Anita? Hello? Someone wants to speak?
She left. I think that was just a mistake.
Fine.
It's a Zoom confusion.
No, I would be good with it, with approving it as long as we get the approval from Tri-Town before we issue. And that it is an approval of a plan not substantially different than what we're seeing.
Thank you. That would be great.
And we can, just from a, oh, I'm sorry, I gotta sneeze. Are we allowed to approve something and not issue? I mean, once we
Yes.
approve it, it has to be
We
issued.
don't issue it until we sign, everybody signs it. And
Yes.
these days, getting everybody to sign it is not necessarily a quick process.
Oh, yeah, that's right. In the garage.
Yeah,
All right, I'll make that
and it
motion.
wouldn't be for 2 weeks anyway, most likely. I mean,
Yeah.
if we were in meeting, we wouldn't be signing it for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, you know, if Mark is right and, you know, things go according to what he's anticipating, we'll have the final approval from Tri-Town by the end of the week, in which case, you know, we'll be well within the time frame of issuing the plan.
Order. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any opposed? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye,
Thank
Jamie?
you.
Aye.
okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Bye, Pam. Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Patrick.
Oh, Mark, bye.
All right, where are we now?
Okay, so the Shirley project shouldn't be here, so forget that. Sorry,
Ice Glen Road,
we
we
closed that last week.
closed that, that's not there. 78 Interlaken Road. Removal and replacement of seasonal dock.
Are we holding on the Latrebe notice of intent until we get this satisfied with the certificate of compliance?
I thought so.
Jackson?
Yeah, it sounds like the commission's leaning toward going the enforcement route, so
Right.
we'll likely request to withdraw that notice of intent. But I want to make sure that's fine with our clients, so I'll just request a continuation for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Matt
Yes,
Ponton,
hello.
you're here. Yep.
Yes. You ready for my presentation?
Go
Yep.
for it.
Sure. Hi, folks. I'm Matt Punton from SK Design. I submitted a notice of intent for installing a seasonal dock. It is a relatively straightforward application, I believe, on Stockbridge Bowl. I did send out paper copies and email versions, so I assume everyone has had a chance to look at it. I understand I was on the agenda for last meeting, but I did not make it. Again, I think this is a pretty straightforward, just typical seasonal dock. It meets all the criteria that the state has under Chapter 91. Of course, we need to go to the state for final approval to install the dock or get a dock license. It meets the requirements, I believe, of the town. I know there's certain setbacks. It's a rather large lot, so we're nowhere near any property lines. We don't extend too far out into the bowl. We have received a letter from Natural Heritage saying that it is not considered a taking. And we have received comments from Mark Stinson, basically elaborating to those two items of Natural Heritage and the Chapter 91 license. I was saying I can share my screen if you like, or we can just have a discussion.
Share a screen, please.
Sure. So this is the location of the property on Stockbridge Bowl. It's along the western edge, kind of towards the south end, just to give you a general bearing overall on the bowl itself. This plan here is a little bit closer, and it shows that, you know, the bowl is part of the Natural Heritage Program, which we all know. And again, we did receive a letter from them saying it is not considered a take. Again, just another figure showing the floodplain zone, which comes from FEMA. Finally, a town map showing the abutters. There's actually quite a few abutters. If you look at the 100-foot from the entire property, all those abutters were properly notified. And then the final is the site plan we prepared that I think is probably the most helpful to look at. So this is the plan. On the left-hand side shows the entire, you know, lakefront property, a couple 100 feet or more. The dock being placed in the middle. It is essentially centered on the lot. And these other two plans show an enlarged dock configuration. And then also the elevation or the dock profile showing how it relates to the lake bottom. The dock
What's the square footage of the dock?
176 square feet. It's on our plan.
Yep.
I was just going to add a quick note. The dock will span the bank and it'll be supported by pipes or piers, whatever terminology you want to use. A very, very straightforward common dock system. It comes in sections 4x8 and they piece them together. And then it's, again, I think it's a really pretty standard application that you've probably seen many times before.
Do you have to clear any shoreline to put this in?
Absolutely not. So what this plan doesn't show is there's a dock there now, or there was a dock when my client purchased the property at the end of last year. That dock was unpermitted. It's well known. He came to us and said, I want to get the proper permits for this. It's in the exact same location. It's roughly the same size and same location. So no tree clearing, no vegetation clearing. It's actually a nice usable area down near the lake.
$78. Does anybody want to go see this?
Sure.
All right, I'm not having a problem with it, but I would like to look at it. 78.
No site visit?
Yep. This week?
I'm good. Anytime this week, the mornings.
I'm not.
Mornings or this week?
This week. Cancer week.
Oh,
That's no fun.
good luck.
Could I just add one little tidbit if I could, please?
Sure.
Just so you know, you're of course welcome to do a site visit. I understand. So the house is located really close to the road and that's where the parking is. It's about a 1/4 mile walk down to the lake. You can't drive down there, just so everyone's fully aware.
Is there a path?
There's a path. Oh yeah, very well maintained. Well, I haven't been there since last year. I assume all the snow's melted by now, but there's a path. There's a well-established path.
Yeah,
Just it's a little bit of a hike.
How deep's the mud?
Well, when I was out there last, it was actually a mowed path, and it's got parts of it that are actually paved. So, you know, summertime, it's no problem. And it could be no problem now. It's a distance. It's a hike.
What is right across from it? On the other side of 183. I'm not quite sure I know exactly
okay.
the location.
Bear with me just a second.
It's 2 doors down from 82 Interlaken.
That's a good point.
2 doors south.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the aerial map here, and I guess it looks like just the house across the street. I don't know the number though.
Is that the location where they're putting the pool in?
I think they're putting a pool close to the house now. I'm not involved with that, but I think I.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good sized house with a garage.
Yes.
South of it.
Yeah, and some sort of ball court up against the
Yeah,
garage.
they're like not a tennis court, but something like that.
Yeah.
So this property number 26, that's north of it, I believe is Mr. Kramer.
Yeah. That's right. It's like two
No.
driveways south of Kramer.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's actually only one driveway. This is the, you can see the gas pipeline going through there.
yes, that's correct. The gas pipeline crosses this property, our property.
Well, I'm still game to go look at it, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's not gonna be an issue. But,
When do you wanna-
Thursday at 10:30-ish.
Are you guys going to the climate environmental meeting we're having Friday? We can talk about it after, but
This is Thursday, Patrick. We're doing a site visit.
well, Thursday is Friday in Australia, that's all I'm saying. All right, what time, 10?
10:30. '78. 10:30 this Thursday.
That's over near the home for sale, right?
Home for sale.
Tongue in cheek,
Don't know that.
tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
All right. So I don't know if anybody needs to be there or not, or we just walk down, or,
I'll plan on being there. I'm sure my client would like me to escort you.
all
I
right,
apologize, but I will not be there.
10:30 this Thursday.
we're a rowdy lot. You'd be amazed what we can do on a piece of property on a site visit.
Who's bringing the margarita?
Yeah,
Gotta be less than $50 worth of margaritas.
I got limes and lemons. Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you at 10:30.
Yes, sir.
Prospect Hill, Bethany Woods, single family house, Foresight again. What's this about?
I am recused from this property.
Is this right next to you, Sally?
Yes,
Oh, this is the open field with the stakes in it.
yes,
With the gas line through it?
yes. No, the gas line goes through, there's a little funky little piece of property between what was my mother's house and this property. And the gas line goes through that. It does not go through this property, to the best of my knowledge.
Can you all see the site plan I have pulled up now?
I see a square with some dots in it.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I have a really big question here.
Sure.
And that is, it looks like a future town road with a cul-de-sac at the end of it. And my question is, does the person who wants to purchase that property, which I will fondly call Turnpike Meadow, because, there's no way they can not hear the turnpike. Are they gonna subdivide this?
No, this piece of property is not planned to be subdivided as far as I know.
As far as you know, well, that doesn't quite cut it.
How big is the property?
I can take a look for you. It is about 400,000 square feet. So that's about 9.5 acres. I don't believe they plan to subdivide it. What they want to do is they're applying for a special permit for this approximately 800 linear feet driveway. As it's more than 500 feet, they're required to get a special permit. So they're in the process of applying for that. The proposed work is for a single family home, as you can see in the proposed driveway and its related features.
Jackson, I don't have much of a picture on my screen.
Let me stop. Let me try it one more time here.
Sally, you're gonna have new neighbors.
You're right.
Can you all see that?
I'm not doing good here.
I got it.
It's a little tough to see at this scale on a small screen.
So I'm asking as an abutter citizen. um, Where's the fall off? Are those lines to the right there? Is that, because there's a very, very steep bank that goes down to the pond.
So, yeah, let me just go over the proposed conditions with you real quick first. So the dark lines are obviously our erosion controls, which are proposed around the entire project. There's this wetland, this bordering vegetated wetland located kind of centrally within the field. Excuse me, which we delineated recently. As you can see, the proposed work is not all, mostly outside of the buffer zone, apart from some drainage work and some minor vegetative clearing for the driveway coming through here. As you can see, the buffer zone right here just comes right up to the edge of the driveway. So the entire driveway and house site are completely outside the 100-foot buffer zone of that BVW. This B series bordering vegetated wetland delineates a BVW located, as Sally said, right at the base of a cliff. As you can see, it steeply drops off here and then drops at least another 30 feet from there, right down a stone cliff to the base of this BVW. That buffer zone is shown here. We're proposing some vegetated waterways all the way along the proposed driveway, as well as a stone bleeder drain and stone level lip spreader here as to dissipate any stormwater, so there's no point source discharges entering any buffer zones. One thing that I should definitely go over with you is Mark Stinson submitted a comment, and he had some concern about the riverfront associated with Marsh Brook, which you can see here on this GIS map just kind of begins with this BVW, which is our B series BVW.
Hey, Jackson,
Mhm.
can you back up a minute
Sure.
and have the Rattlesnake Road graphic there? Where is this piece of property going with relationship right there, huh?
Yep. Proposed house and driveway location right there. So we just wanted to address that comment from Mark that as best we can tell by observing the riverine qualities of Marsh Brook, because you can see here it's a little less well-defined than it's shown on the USGS map. But those points match up very well. This first beginning point of riverine qualities, as best as we've been able to determine through aerial photography and USGS mapping. So
If the dam breaks by Rattlesnake, it'll go back to being a river. The only reason that it's not a river right now is because the beavers dammed it up.
yeah, I suspected there was some kind of
up upstream.
I suspected there was some kind of damming happening there, which led to this. But this has been, looking at aerial photography, this has not changed whatsoever in the past 25 years. The edges have looked exactly the same as best we can tell. So we wanted to plot that 200-foot riverfront area of Marsh Brook on our site plan, just to show you there's no proposed work anywhere near that riverfront area. And completely outside the 100-foot buffer zone of this B series BVW, which follows the base of that cliff that Sally was talking about right here.
Within the ACEC?
Yes, that was another one of Mark Stinson's comments, that this is within the is it the
Campusa Bog ACEC?
I believe that's the one.
Which it is not listed as such on in your application, so you need to fix that.
Let me double check here. Yes, that is correct. It's the Campusabog ACEC. So we forgot to mention that in the notice of intent, but we submitted this revised site plan, which is contains this fourth page with the riverfront graphics here, and that's dated March 3rd, 2021. And we submitted a letter responding to Mark Stinson's comments to go along with that. His main comment was, yeah, about the riverfront area and being within the ACEC, as you can see here, and some other comments for the commission. But, you know, we feel it's a relatively straightforward, simple family or single family home project with a pretty large driveway located mostly outside of the 100-foot buffer zone of any BVW. And so
Jackson, how big's the house?
that's approximately 2,000 square feet. And then there's a 800-ish square foot garage located here.
I'm a little concerned about what appears to be a center line going down the driveway to the cul-de-sac.
Yep, that is the station line. So that's just to provide whoever's going to be building this with this information on slope and distance along the driveway, and make sure they hit all the proposed grades that they're supposed to. So that's pretty much just what that is.
Gotcha, but it's not going to become a, no, never mind.
How far is the house from the cliff?
Let me take a quick measurement for you.
Not far.
From the cliff, it looks like it's at least 150 feet. This B series BVW is directly at the base of that cliff. So the top would be maybe another 10 feet this way. So I'd say probably at least 150 feet. Let me take a quick measurement. So yeah, the house would be about 150 feet, maybe a little bit more from the top of that cliff.
Who is the applicant?
That would be Bethany Woods.
Is Carol Fremont Mary Stokes' sister? John, do you know? Just curious.
I do not know.
Okay.
Such a good small town question.
A small town question. But it's just, it would mean that the property is pretty much contiguous with all the rest of the Frelinghuysen and Stokes properties. Just curious.
I'm sure we can find out between now and then.
I'm sure we can. It's not, has nothing to do with this, just curiosity.
Problem. So if the commission would like to set up a site visit, if you're interested in seeing the site, I'd be happy to meet you there.
Jackson, on this Thursday, we have a 10:30 site visit, as you may have heard.
Yes.
Well, Jackson, I'm not going to be able to be there, but I would like to ask you a question. Is anything down the long driveway, is it staked out in any way?
Not since I've recently visited the site.
There are stakes out there.
I mean, where the house is going to be built?
I don't know if the house is staked out at this point, but I could have it approximately staked out for a site visit.
Yeah, I mean, the reason is I can't be there on Thursday for the site visit, but I could go there independently and take a look if I had some idea where the house is going to be.
Yep. If the commission wants to see it Thursday, then I'll try to get there before then and stake things out approximately, and then you can swing by at your leisure.
How about 11 o'clock on Thursday?
All right, 11 a.m. Thursday, March 25th.
And we can't have a quorum because I don't have time to post it.
Okay. We're lucky we have one now.
Just saying.
When are we going to get rid of the Zoom stuff?
when everybody's fully vaccinated,
I'm
John.
vaccinated.
Well, I'm not.
We'll get to it, for crying out loud.
Sally, I've heard through the grapevine, and this has worked quite well, but Council of the Aging sets it up for you.
I've got my first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got to start then. That's good.
I got a Johnson & Johnson, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, I got that too.
So what time Thursday?
11, 10:30 on 78 Interlaken Road and 11 at Prospect Hill.
Okay, it's a quarter mile to walk to the dock at 10:30. You really think we're gonna be there at 11? I don't.
11:15.
How fast do you walk?
Downhill pretty fast, uphill not so quick.
Yeah, okay, how about 11:30?
11:30 works fine for me.
11:30, I'm okay.
And what's the address on Prospect Hill? I know where the property is, but just so I can put it in.
Unfortunately, it doesn't have a current street address.
My mother's house was 34. The one next
Okay.
to it would have been 36. So this would be 34A or something.
I'll be waiting for you on the side of the road on Thursday.
All right, excellent.
Look for the pipeline posts.
Yep, they're right here on this little square lot. So if you see those, you're in the right spot.
So
Okay.
Jackson, you'll have a few stakes in the ground for a rough perimeter of the house then?
Yep, yeah, I'll approximately stake it out, so you can see the general location and size, and we can kind of walk the driveway layout together.
And maybe somewhere near a septic system?
Yep, yeah, I can stake those out for you as well.
Okay, great.
Hey, Jackson,
Yep.
has your client ever been there at night?
Couldn't tell you.
They might want to pay a visit just to enjoy the turnpike.
I'll let them know, see if they're interested in taking a look.
Yeah, you might lose a client.
Plant a lot of tall trees.
Good idea.
Doesn't help.
Yeah, I know.
We need to build a bubble over the turnpike.
No, what we need is one of those wooden fences on the end of the pipeline.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. I think. the bubble's better there.
I forget, who was it that advocated for the turnpike to be there in the first place?
Yeah, it wasn't my father for sure.
Silvio Conti.
And I seem
Okay.
to remember a Mr. Hart being involved in
Yeah,
that.
me too. I heard that story too, John.
Yeah. Just for the
My
record,
father was on the planning board when the turnpike went through, and I can tell you that he had his teeth ground down to almost nothing by the time that hearing was over.
just for the record, Jim Hart was my stepfather. He was not my father.
Okay.
All right, we have things to sign in
Jackson.
the cellar.
We have a request for discussion on performance standards.
Yes,
Performance standards.
yes. So can I share my screen?
You can try. My screen's not doing much at the moment.
Well, I was gonna share my screen, not yours.
Well, let's,
But I have to,
Where are you, Patrick? I don't see you.
I don't either.
well, hold on one second. I'm right here.
Oh, Patrick.
See you.
Oh, here you are.
There's two of me always. Hold on. Let me just pull up the right one because you don't need to see my calendar. And I gotta go to town email. Okay. Share screen. Boom. All right. So I'm gonna share this. So I asked Donna, our town council, last week, and I CC'd Michael and Ron and Sally. The question at the bottom of this email, which was, in two places, our town wetlands bylaw, the town law gives the Concom the right to create performance standards. The commission is interested in setting some standards to clarify its position on certain activities. These may include, but not be limited to, disallowing fencing, requiring a buffer zone, requiring a ratio of new tree plantings, encouraging the monitoring treatment of tree species, Then I asked the question, can we publish performance standards? Will these only apply to projects seeking to be permitted? And what suggestions do you have? So her response is here, and rather than read it out loud, maybe everyone could take a minute or two, or I could forward this to the Conservation Commission. But basically, she's strongly encouraging us to develop such performance standards. It helps us defend our position, and it helps, clear, detailed standards will insulate the commission's decisions from challenge if the bylaw is too vague. My thoughts on your questions are below, and then she basically went into all of this. So to the degree that the commission is interested, we have an opportunity, and we're actually being encouraged to clarify the bylaws we have in place with performance standards around those bylaws, so that, Sally, if you want 35 feet of buffer zone, and I'm not suggesting the lake could support that, but that's something we could talk about. But we could start to put these standards into place and publish them as a regulation on the town website, so that folks like the applicants we've just been seeing would know where we stand before they start designing the work that they're doing. So
Well, one thing we could do, and at least with regard to that, is we could, which we have done before, is to make a policy that the Conservation Commission will support in its deliberations the bylaws as set forth by the planning board. So the 35-foot buffer is something we could endorse as being part of our consideration when we issue an order of conditions. And we've done that before with something else, which I'm not thinking of right now.
So I just wanted to
the dock bylaw, we have made a
Right.
statement, and it's been in the minutes, and it's been codified in effect, that we are going to support we're with all of the applications before us, we are going to support the planning board's bylaws concerning the docks. So we could do the same thing with the 35-foot buffer, but I think that needs some clarification, as we saw tonight with Mark Volt.
Right. So I would just direct us to Donna's answer from number 3. My question was, any suggestions, limitations, or barriers to implementation? We don't want to waste our time or yours. And she replied, putting wetlands regulations in place is definitely advisable. There is a body of case law that informs drafting such regulations. It would be helpful if we could provide a memo summarizing key considerations based on the case law. So I was thinking that, either one of us, and I would prefer it's not me, just time-wise, or a subcommittee, if it's a publicly, advertised and meeting subcommittee, could, be appointed by this board to work with Donna on whatever the first steps are, to start to not only understand what the commission's, we state a lot of things at the meetings. I think we want to try to get pen to paper on those, and then work with Donna to figure out how to implement them.
Well, the Wetlands Bylaw says the commissions therefore may establish performance standards for the protection of such lands, including, without limitation, strips of continuous undisturbed vegetative cover within 200 feet or 100-foot area. So that's pretty broad. I mean, within 200 feet, we can establish, undisturbed vegetative cover. And I think that that's particularly important around the lake. And while everyone seems to be convinced that the Landows are going out of their way to be really good guys about this, I frankly I'm not really happy with the way that this has turned out. And I don't frankly care whether their grandchildren can play touch football on the lawn.
I don't either. And I was going to challenge Elizabeth on that. I mean, obviously our job is to defend the regulation of the wetlands. We're not a body of recreation. We're not, I'm all for grandkids, but it really isn't. It sort of plays on an emotional heartstring in a way that isn't really relevant to this board. But I just figured I'm tired and I've had enough fighting for a week. But I understand what you're saying. I felt the same way. That's why I think these performance standards are all the more important, because it allows us to, to at least identify what some minimum requirements are. And I don't know if it's realistic or appropriate even to start to think about on these very small beachwood lots or lake drive lots where 100 or 200 feet might bring you right to the road. I mean, obviously, my goal anyway, I can't speak for the commission, is not to deny people their property rights, but when they think they're doing us a favor because they put 2 rows of shrubs with 5 feet of 2-foot grass in between them, I kind of don't think that's really best practices.
Well, you could do the way the LPOD is written has percentages or actual actual dimensions.
Whichever.
So we could do something like that, which would accommodate the smaller lots and where the coverage along the lakefront would not exceed, I don't know what, but I mean, we could figure that out or it could be the same way the LPOD is written, 35 feet or 10% of the lot, I think is how it reads.
Okay. Well, like I said, so anybody have any ideas on next steps? We have an opportunity to clarify what we expect from applicants. I think that this creates extra work for us, but I think it's important work. It sounds like we're going to have at least 1 and possibly 2 candidates for the open seat at Thursday's select board meeting. And, it could be that one of, whoever gets appointed to this committee could help us draft these.
Who are our candidates?
Well, I have nominated Lisa Bizzuto, who spent 11 years on the Great Barrington Conservation Commission and has a lot of expertise on both the Berkshire, the Berkshires from an environmental point of view and the state Wetlands Protection Act. I believe Roxanne is going to nominate Gary Johnston as well.
What?
Gary has no experience.
That's not up to me. I mean, I told you who I nominated.
He doesn't come to the stewardship meetings ever in a year.
Okay. I think as I said, I nominated Lisa. I think that if folks want to put their names in and they want to put their names in through another selectman, that is entirely their right. But if you have an opinion on this, I think you should come on Thursday or, lobby me. I've already made up my decision who I'm supporting. But it's not up to me.
I would support Lisa over Gary. I don't think Gary has any experience in this at all.
I understand. But I'm trying to be diplomatic. It's not, you don't need to convince me. I believe that we have someone.
Well, so I'm lobbying you and saying he doesn't have experience and she does, period.
Right.
And he does.
I have an issue that I'd like to bring to the table if I could. With this performance standards thing that we're talking about here, I've been banging on the can that previously we had Pam Sandler and Foresight here, and they gave us a timeline as to what the construction of whatever was going to be down at that site. And what I would like to propose to the Concom is that we require that timeline. And we also tell them that when there is going to be a certain point where they cap the foundation, where they put the septic system in, with, whatever it is, that we would like to come and have a site visit. And the reason for that is that wonderful piece of property that we have before us down on Mackinac Shores.
Well, we don't need to have performance standards for that necessarily, John. We can do that in the order of conditions.
All right, but we need to do it. And I think the client or the homeowner needs to have that as a piece of understanding when they're, preferably when they're buying the home, like Turnpike Acres, or when they at least are, have bought the home and the engineers come in, somebody needs to tell these people, because it appears to me that these people do not know what is going on. And, you know, I would be, as I said before, more than happy to absorb the cost of printing a brochure, to put outside Ned's office, to tell these people what's required of the Conservation Commission when they
Well,
buy.
let's draft the regulations first, John, but I think that's a great idea. My sense is that we might want to have a process where individuals who have ideas on what some of the specifics should be, maybe, and I don't mind if you want to send it to me initially, or to somebody that the commission sets, but someone's got to basically start to collect ideas of what might go into these things, and then be the interface with Donna to start to understand what other ideas she might have, as well as how to codify the issues that are important to us. I mean, I think we need a process. We're not going to draft these in real time at 8:47 at night. I just wanted to say that this is something we can do if we want to do it.
I think we should codify the use of fertilizers and pesticides and all that stuff within 200 feet of the lake.
Definitely.
But there was something else I was going to say about this. Now I can't remember what it was.
I ran into Shep Evans the other day in the post office, and he said he was a conservation agent for Great Barrington.
Yeah, Great Barrington.
And Richmond too, I think.
Yeah, that's what I just said. And you know what I'm wondering is, you know, he's semi-retired and all that kind of stuff. Is he? I mean, what is a conservation agent for a town? Can anybody clear that up for me?
They asked me to be the conservation agent for Otis, and you basically, and I said no. But basically you want to go around and you take the plans and you go and you look at the process of, I mean, it's what we've been talking about. Basically, you go around and you take the plans, you look at what people are building, you make sure it's being built according to plan. You go back and check on it a couple years later and see that if you've had some sort of requirement for a mitigation, that the mitigation is being done the way it's supposed to be done, and that they haven't mowed down the stuff that they said they were going to leave the way it was supposed to be, and things like that.
So is there an objection within the town or on the board for us to get one of those so that
I talked to Michael about getting a combination agent. You know, Christine had suggested the planning board could also use somebody to help them enforce the regulations that they, or whatever the decisions that they make. So I asked Michael to look at it. I'm not sure if he's looked at it for this year's budget. We have a budget meeting Thursday night. I will remind him that this is something we're interested in.
Well, with what's happening real estate wise, I think it's showtime.
Yeah, I agree.
The other thing that I would like to get put in that we got shot down by Ray a few years ago is I would really like to see color around the lake. Color. Like I want to see, you know, earth tone colors in paint. I don't want to see any more white houses.
Good luck with that, but okay. Or did he say it wasn't, when you couldn't regulate the house color?
I always believed and still believe that under the town wetlands bylaw that we have that right. It says the term preservation of natural scenic qualities shall mean the protection of existing aesthetic and or historic features of the environment as determined by the Conservation Commission, which we interpreted for many years to mean that they should paint their houses in some sort of nice earth tone color that would blend into the environment instead of having some great big huge white house on the edge of the lake. But Ray said that he did not believe that under the current language in the wetlands bylaw that we had that right, but I would like to see us have that right.
Well, okay, I mean, I'll give you the, you know.
Can't imagine which house you're talking about.
Yeah. Or how many of them.
Yeah, if we don't want White House's proposal bylaw, Sally, I'm happy to sign the petition. But, you know, I think that while you're at it, I think we should ban roofs, because I think we can have a lot of nature in houses if we didn't have roofs on them, but I'm sorry, I'm just kidding you. So I'm getting really tired. Ron, how about if we maybe talk for 15 or 20 minutes about sort of this idea of performance standards and what next steps should be? You know, it seems like there's a lot of ideas of things you might want to clarify, but there's going to be, you know, a process with town council to put them in place.
All right, Patrick, when do you want to have that? At a separate meeting?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, and I don't care, maybe I'll have to check with Michael after what the, you know, after the question of subcommittees and all that come up. I don't know if it needs to be a public meeting or just a phone call. But I think we could do something anytime in the next week, starting Friday. Tomorrow and Thursday are pretty busy for me.
Okay. I'll get in touch with you, Patrick.
All right, and I'll check with Michael to make sure. And if we need to post them, then we'll post them.
You don't need to post it unless it's a quorum.
Yeah, I just don't want to be. Yeah, I don't. I don't want to be defined as a subcommittee. Once again, I think we've had, you know, we've had a lesson in that lately, and you know, I think we should be. I think also I like meeting in public. I think it's a good chance for people to give us input, but we'll figure it out. Anyway,
So
like I said,
what's the climate environmental meeting on Friday?
oh yeah, so the MVP, the municipal vulnerability to climate change project we're doing is Friday morning from, I believe it's 9 to 11. Let's see. And it's, you know, you should have gotten an invitation from Katie Keeman, our consultant, or Michael Canales. But the one on environment is Friday morning from, let's see, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then there's one tomorrow night at 6:30 for societal impacts of climate change from 6:30 to 8:30. They usually do these as a one-day seminar where they buy you lunch and breakfast. But with COVID, they had to split it up into 3 different ones. The state requires us to have these outreach sessions to get people's take-in priorities on preparing for climate change. So, you know.
I went to one, I don't know, over a year ago now, probably, was outside.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'm doing Friday, and if anybody wants to join, they can, is an Eagle reporter and photographer coming to Ice Glen to talk about the to look at what the issues are with Ice Glen. The former head of DCR, a guy named Ken Gooch, DCR Forestry, is going to be our consultant to sort of do the inventory and assessment of where the trees stand. And if anybody wants to go for a walk in Ice Glen with Eagle reporter, photographer, Ken and me, and Roxanne may come too, you know, let me know, or just show up. It's 1:30 on Friday at Ice Glen.
This isn't Clarence. This isn't Clarence, is it?
Yeah.
No, it's Felix. Felix Carroll's the reporter.
At
It's
which
their
end of,
environmental reporter.
at which end of Ice Glen?
The one with the little walking bridge,
Okay, Park
Park
Street.
Street,
I can't.
1 o'clock Friday,
1:30.
1:30 Friday.
Mhm.
I might make that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I'm teaching in Albany on Friday, can't do it.
All right, well, it's all being driven by when Ken and the Eagle guy can be there, and 1:30 is the time they agree to.
Can I bring a dog?
You're the head of conservation.
You want to
Commission,
take a
Ron.
dog
You
through
can
Ice
bring an
Glen?
elephant.
You really want to take a dog through Ice Glen, Ron?
I could do it, but I don't, I'm,
When
You're
I
gonna
was,
bring the black one, right?
yeah. The other one,
when
I'd
I
have
was
to.
about,
The
when I
The
was
other
about-
one, you'd have to give a bath.
when I was about 12 years old, we went up into Ice Glen and climbed down into one of those holes underneath all the rocks. And I said, "Oh, I'll get in there." And I got stuck in there looking at nothing but darkness and probably a raccoon, and the fire department had to come and drag my butt out.
Oh, I got a worse story than that, John. When I was in 7th grade, I was in Mrs. Cunningham's French class at Searles. And you know those old classes, they had those like inkwell holes inside the desk.
Yeah.
Well, it's first period. I'm in the 7th grade. My brother's in the 8th grade. I put my finger in this thing 15 minutes before the end of class, and I'm just like, leave it there. And it swells up and gets stuck in the desk. And the
Jeez.
bell rings or whatever they do at the end of the class, and my finger's stuck, and everybody's gone except me and Mrs. Cunningham and my brother and all his friends. And of course, he's like the captain of the hockey team and all the rest of it, and I'm not. And they're all waiting outside the class while they figure out what to do. Well, the maintenance guy comes, he couldn't fix it. They finally decided to take me to like Hillcrest. I think that, Fairview rather. I go down there, the emergency room doctor can't get it out. So they had the shop guy from Fairview or whatever the hospital down there is, cut it out with some kind of like, metal cutters. And I was, by the time I was a junior or senior in high school, 4 or 5 years later, I started to make prints. So that was good.
My embarrassment was they had to rub me down with Vaseline to get me out.
Okay, maybe that is worse.
All right, any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Please.
All right. See you later.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So Thursday at 10:30 and 11:30.
And
Friday
Friday,
at 1:30.
Friday,
And we have paperwork to sign.
Okay.